Hey team, welcome back into the Warriorholic. How good to be back here reviewing a win after a tough couple of weeks. I bet a lot more people will watch this week, and I hope you all have got a lot of positive things to say about it. Still a few things to work on, but off the back of last week, I'm absolutely stoked for the boys that they could step up and turn things around without having to make mass changes like everyone was calling for. Before I jump into the NRL review, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our Cup boys. They won again last night. That's 8 from their last 10 and another draw, so they've only lost one game in their past 10, up into third place, just 1 point behind second and 2 points behind the first place Bears. Keep this up, get Ali Lauatoa back, get Zion Maiu back, and I think we're going to have a real good run at this competition this year. Really hope the boys continue to play this well. Big shout out to Tane Tuopiki. He was my man of the match with a couple of tries, a couple of try assists, just so heavily involved, running for about 200 metres again. Bunty Afoa running for 190 metres, tackling at 100%. Leka Halasima, I think he ran for about 150 odd metres, 100% tackling, and same for Tom Ale. So also good to see Pasikala continue to step up, get another try this week, putting on another couple of big hits. Unfortunately got penalised for one. Setu too looking to be straight back into his rhythm after a break with his knee injury. I guess the highlight or the lowlight, the thing that stood out most is Big Red, Corey Horsburgh, putting a couple on the chin of Jacob Laban and headbutting him. And as a result, Jacob got sent off and not even throwing one. At least Tom Ali managed to fly in and put one on his chin and justify his send-off. Absolute debacle, and from what I've heard, he only got a fine for it. So seems it's okay to headbutt people in rugby league these days. Just don't tackle them high. Anyway, on to the more important game. The Warriors getting up over the Broncos. Bear in mind this wasn't their full-strength team by any stretch of the imagination. No Walsh, no Pass, no Patrick Carrigan, no Josh Reynolds, no Jordan Ricky. Bunch of their players out. But you can only play those in front of them. They did the same to us last year when we had 9 players out, I think it was, when they beat us in Napier. So it's just great to get one up over them no matter what the situation. I've got to say, it's pretty funny to see some salty Broncos fans jumping in my comments there. Oh, you didn't even play a real team. Having a big sook after their 4 losses in a row. Pretty sure Kevin might be standing there blaming that for the loss. So suck them eggs, Broncos fans. I don't feel sorry for you this time. Let's take a quick look through the team stats before I get into the individual reviews. 6 tries to us versus their 3. Adam Pompey kicking a couple of brilliant shots, but then missing 3. Wasn't his night with the boot, but good to see Chanel Harris-Davidas step up clutch and put one over late in the game again. Possession-wise, we ended up with 55% to their 45 after starting out with about 90% in the first 20 minutes. So, like most NRL games these days, they seem to even out. We saw that in State of Origin. One team gets off to a big start and the other one comes back in. I feel like we let that happen a little bit with the errors in the wrong place. But it seems to be really hard to switch that momentum when you're losing the field position battle in rugby league unless you get penalties. Still a little bit of a frustrating period there just before and after half time. 81% completion rate, probably about 10% down on where I would have liked it, particularly after that start. But sometimes it gets that way when you're on the front foot and you're trying a little bit too much. All of these stats here reflect how dominant we were. And it's nice to actually get the main stat, the 2 points at the end of this, after often winning the stats over the past few weeks, other than against the Gold Coast. 20 more runs, so what's that? 3.5 more sets than they had. Running meters, 600 more running meters than them, twice the post-contact meters. Line breaks, so only 3 line breaks with all that possession, and they got 5. That's something that really worries me. I'll get onto that a little bit in a moment. Tackle breaks, just 28 in a game like that where we dominated. You'd expect a few more than that. And individually, our tackle breaks are quite a way down on where we are normally. Average distance per set covering 10 more metres than them with 40 versus 29. Offloads, 3 for us, none for them. That was a surprise. I guess other than Tapo, most of their guys aren't really noted offloaders. All of their offloaders being out due to origin. I did notice that we had guys actually almost standing on their side of the ruck, just purely there to make sure those offloads didn't happen. So maybe it was, we've got to give ourselves credit for tying that up as much as them not throwing them. Kicking, obviously they kicked for more because they were kicking out of their own territory, so just 527 metres kicking for us. Kick defusal was an absolute nightmare recently. We're letting so many tries in from not being able to defuse kicks, and it happened again last night, 17%. Something we've really got to work on. There's not just one culprit. A lot of guys not able to tie up those bombs at the moment. Defense, good to get back up into the 90s, 91.26. Pretty satisfying after last week's effort. Just 25 missed tackles. and 2 ineffective tackles. A significant improvement there, and I believe 6 of our guys completed it over 100%, so that's a real good step up from last week. Negative plays, 8 errors. I'm always happy when we're down in the single figures, but just the timing of them. I will put a caveat on there that, so frustrating when you see guys like Dylan Walker get the ball punched out. Granted, maybe you got to try and hold the ball a little bit harder, but when you get guys having the ball punched out, but it's called for an error, and we don't want to risk a captain's challenge on it, it is still pretty frustrating. I'd say we would have had 3 of those last night, but still the other ones, poor passes or just overrunning, lack of concentration, and that just really lets them turn things around. And the penalty 7 was a little bit high for me, just getting a little bit too wound up there trying to put on those big hits, jumping the mark when they're trying to hit it out of their red zone, or holding down a little bit too long in the ruck. Just little things like that is what let the pressure off of the Broncos, and if we do that against the Bulldogs next week, we could get punished. So just a couple of quick reflections on the game as a whole, what I thought stood out to me. I really enjoyed Chanel and Tamati Martin again. But again, guys, I will say the Fords stepped up and made the platform and allowed them to do what they did. So, still don't get too excited about how amazing they are until we can see what they're like on the back of a performance where our Fords aren't dominating like that. That's when you get to see the true heart of a halves combination. Able to kick with a lot of time last night, not kicking from deep in our own half. So I'll just put a little like asterisk next to that. They did what they needed to do, but a lot of it was with front foot ball. But again, I like the fact that Tamati seemed to play both sides and Chanel stuck to the left rather than having both halves play both sides. It seemed to complicate a lot of things. It was interesting to see that Chance didn't really get involved in attack too much in ball playing. He was around the ruck a little bit, but he seemed to play a little bit more within himself than he's been playing recently. He didn't have as many running meters as we've normally seen him, which I'm assuming he wasn't crook or something. But I feel like we need to do that. Try to get him not to play too much. When he starts running for like 250 meters, while it's great, it means he's really tired, and often he can just not quite get there on those defensive efforts when we're right on our try line. But he really got across there well last night, so I feel like that was a good move to maybe having a few more runs from Dallin and Montoya at the back rather than Chance taking all of them. And there weren't too many situations where he did the double runs per set. Overall, I thought our backs went all right. I thought Pompey had a pretty good game. He tackled at 100%, other than his kicking, but RTS still didn't really feel like he got into the game too much. But for the most part, I thought our backs were pretty slick. I really liked it when we spun the ball early, even on our own try line there off the kickoff, getting that right across the other side of the field and giving Montoya a lot of space. But it's a bit of a frustration that he doesn't have the speed to use it. I think you have someone like Pasikala out there with 15, 20 meters of space to work with. I feel like he would have got a few more line breaks, but it's still a good way to get the momentum going. And I like the fact we shifted early in various parts of the field. I thought Blocker Roach's comment was quite on the money, that when we went direct straight through the middle, I feel like that's our strength. We get really good meters. We were getting 70, 80 meters a set through the middle at times. But when we started to get on the back foot, we'd start to go to try and bust through their edges. And it just didn't seem to be quite as effective as when we just go one after the other straight up the middle. And I've really liked that we've done that. That's how we got on top of the Sharks last year in that first game. We had the comeback win. Just real direct, hard running straight through the middle, tire their forwards out. But yeah, overall I thought it was really good, but still frustrating that we let the Broncos get back into it with a pretty average pack, to be fair. Martin Tapau stepped up and had a really good game, but the guy's he's been struggling to even get first grade game recently, and he sort of got pretty easy meters against us. So there's definitely a lot to work on. You could see that Webby was happy with the defense, but still, you can see he's looking for a bigger effort, and I think we'll definitely need it up against the Bulldogs. And starting at fullback with CNK, 80 minutes, 17 runs, just 161 meters just. 100 meters down on some of his bigger games, but I feel like that was a better use of his energy. 48 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 89% tackle efficiency. So his tackle efficiency has been down a little bit recently, missing a couple, but I think he just missed 2 and made 8. Whereas the past couple of weeks, I think he's only made like 5 tackles and missed 3. and just the one error from him. I just think this weekend showed that with our bench rotation, with a lot of the ways we played, we shared the load a lot more. It's so often in the past we've relied on AFB, CNK, and Tohu to be out there for 80 minutes and just grinding for about a third of our run meters. So I like the fact we're spreading it around a little bit more and conserving his energy, that he could make those big plays in the end goal to defuse try. So pretty happy with his effort, but a lot of pressure coming from Tane Tuolpiki after that consistent effort he's been putting in the cup recently. I don't know. I'm definitely not saying you drop chance, but man, I'm really keen to see Tane get a couple more shots at NRL this season. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, 15 runs for 130 metres. Man, he's struggled to get up around those 180 metre mark recently. I still feel like he's just a little bit one-dimensional, both him and Montoya just running directly into the tacklers. No late steps, no swerves or anything, so it's a little bit predictable. Perhaps he needs to add that into his game. 48 post-contact metres, one try. Man, that was a great try. And like I said, great to see us scoring off both sides of the field. One tackle break, tackle efficiency just 62%. 5 tackles, I think he had around 3 or 4 misses. He's been up around the 100% mark recently, so still a few issues with our boys out wide when it comes to defence and just the one error. Overall, I thought he had a solid game without being absolutely outstanding, but solid and consistent is sometimes what we need. I just really do feel like we need a little bit more acceleration and line break speed out on our edges. I know Dallin's got great top speed, but he's not very elusive. You only really see him in broken field when he gets intercepts. Just got to figure out a way to get him stepping a little bit more and breaking the line a little bit more often, I feel. RTS, 80 minutes, 14 runs, 125 metres, 50 post contact, a try, a tackle break, 85% tackle efficiency, 16 tackles made, and 1 handling error. So he was solid, but again, it's just, I don't know, I hate to be critical after a game like that where you win and you've turned things around, but just doesn't seem to be clicking from at centre. And I think it is getting to the time where let's give him a shot on Montoya's wing. We know he's got a bit more agility. We know he can run those hard meters like Montoya does, but he probably offers a little bit more on attack there. Once we get either Ali or Rocco or even try MGT back in there at centre and see if we can get his speed to get us a couple of line breaks, but just not quite sure how that's going to work out. Adam Pompey, I thought he was solid. He was heavily involved in the attacking side of the game. 11 runs, 96 metres, 37 post contact, 3 good conversions, as I said, but 3 misses, 2 tackle breaks, and 1 offload. 100% tackle efficiency, 10 out of 10 for him, and no errors. So very solid effort for him off the back of a couple of weeks where he's been burnt a lot by speed. Solid enough, but I just feel like we need a little bit more from our centres at the moment, other than just being distributors or just carting the ball up. I don't know. And Montoya on the wing, 80 minutes, 11 runs, 127 metres, 42 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, 50% tackle efficiency, 2 tackles made, and 2 errors. You can't question his heart, man. He does go like a rocket, does hit the line hard, never shirks the work, but again, I just feel like we need something a little bit more out there. RTS might just have that fraction more speed, but he definitely has a little bit more of a step and a bit more variety in the way he runs. And we can't just keep using these 2 guys as props and not having them able to take a gap or make the odd line break. We need at least one of our outside backs to have some blistering speed that can just break a game open from anywhere. And I'm not really trying to be critical of one particular guy. I just feel within Dallin, Montoya, RTS, and Adam, you've just got 4 really good workhorses, direct runners, but we just don't have that line breaking speed. I'm not sure why Webby doesn't give someone like MGT with that acceleration a bit more of a game. Guy like Pasikala, maybe at 18, he's just still a little bit young, but I feel like we need something else. Chanel Harris-Davida, right from the start of the season, I always liked him as a 5'8". I thought he was one of our best options there, and I think he really provides it, particularly down the left-hand side with that left-footed kicking game. 80 minutes, 7 runs, 73 metres, 16 post contact, 8 kicks for 283 metres, 2 tries. that second one he got, the effort to get there, he was so far out of play. Just shows how much acceleration and determination he's got. And again, stepping up, clutch with that kick straight down the middle. And one of the 100% tackle efficiency club with 11 tackles made and no errors. It just seems like him and Tamati Martin have fun playing together. They just seem to match really well. It looks like they've been playing together for years. So I hope they do. I mean, again, this is no, I'm not going to get on the hate SJ bandwagon. He was shit, anything like that. I just think these two click well together, and I feel like they need a few back-to-back games to really see if they can build that combination to be our long-term options here. No idea when Metcalf's due back. It's still got end of the late season. Pappenhausen getting a similar injury and already back, and I think Metcalf did his about 2 or 3 rounds before, so not sure how that one goes. Tamati Martin, he was probably my man of the match, either him and Mitch Barnett. 80 minutes, 10 runs, 67 metres, 11 kicks for 220 metres, 1 try, 1 line break assist, 3 try assists. Man, he's got some try assists. 1 line break, 1 line break assist, 1 tackle break, 75% tackle efficiency, and some really big tackles in there out of the 15 he made, and no errors. Just seems very, very comfortable. Yeah, saying it to a mate this afternoon. Who thought he was a 7 before the start of the season? I don't think anyone was sitting there going, oh, he's the heir to the throne at 7. He seemed to really struggle in the halves last year, playing 7 with Dylan Walker when SJ was out. Just maybe it was playing 7 in Cup these past, a couple of months ago that really started to unlock his confidence and build his kicking game. But he just seems like he's the natural heir to the throne now, which is great. It means we get these guys like Jet Cleary, Luke Hanson coming in, and we don't have to rush them. We can allow them to develop their game as long as they're patient, ease them in and out, knowing we've got that backup. But I feel like he's the heir to the throne. Who knows what happens with SJ? It was being reported on SEN radio recently, and they don't tend to go early with stuff that they haven't confirmed. But SJ saying that SJ had been offered a contract for 1 year, but he decided not to sign yet because he's not sure whether his body could hold up. This is going back a couple of weeks before the continued struggle with the form, before the Achilles injury again. So maybe his frustration wasn't just because we'd lost, but maybe it's a realization that he is coming to the end. Who knows? But I think it's just really good to know that we've got these two stepping up and delivering at NRL level now. So if he does choose to retire, we're not in a panic, because go back to this time last year, we were shitting ourselves every time SJ got injured. Adam Whanua Blake, just 51 minutes, and I think that's good. Similar, we're not playing him for 70 minutes, putting everything on his shoulders. 164 metres off his 15 runs doesn't seem like a lot, but only out there for 51 minutes when he's normally out there for 60 to 65, sometimes up to 70. He ran for 71 metres in the first 10 or 15 minutes when I looked at it, which is more than he ran last week. So good to see him switched on, 62 post-contact. Just 1 tackle break though. 96% tackle efficiency with 23 made and just the 1 error. It just seemed like his mind was much more in it this week. You could see, you can just tell, like, he's very much of a poker face every week. But you can definitely tell when he's not in a good space. But, even half the time when he scores a try, he has kind of a smirk rather than a big smile. So he seems like a pretty introverted fella. But good to have him back delivering at a high level. Thought Wade Egan played well. 67 minutes, 5 runs, 49 metres. Really good acceleration off the line. 16 post-contact metres, 1 tackle break, 91% tackle efficiency, 30 tackles made in the 1 error. Solid. Definitely a much better player when he's on the front foot like any other hooker. Bit of a concern when he got that head knock for a minute, but it just seemed to be more of a graze or something rather than actually being a genuine head knock, so hopefully he's all good. But yeah, no complaints from him. One of these days he's going to get over for one of those tries that he goes for. Mitch Barnett at prop. Webby said before the game, or after the game, I can't remember, one of the two, that the reason Mitch had gone to prop is because they decided they wanted to start Kurt Capewell and just basically leave him out there until his body gave up after what he went through in Origin. Even though he didn't play huge minutes, it does take it out of you. I guess this really brings up an interesting question. Like I chatting with people about, whether he's a prop or an edge. I love him on an edge, and I love him and Marata being out there, but I guess it comes down to, is Jackson a better prop than Kurt Capewell as an edge? Because it just comes down to which one of those guys is better and has the bigger impact, because I think it's much of a muchness where you can play Mitch. I do like the idea of having him at prop, either in that opening stint or starting with Jackson, then bringing Mitch into prop off the second row when AFB goes off. So you've always got either him or AFB in the front row, because the meters those two can get is really important. But yeah, close to my man of the match again. I think we saw a massive influence and from him in the terms of leadership, line speed, and impact on defense. So 72 minutes, 18 runs, 184 meters, most for us this week. 73 post contact, 1 try assist, 1 line break assist, 8 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 97% tackle efficiency, 32 tackles made, no errors. Ultimate professional. He's the new Kevin Campion. Now, and him and James Fisher-Harris as a combination with their work ethic, their professionalism next year are going to take us to a new level. So yeah, 50-50 toss whether he was man of the match or Tamari Martin. Marata Nia poor bugger, that nose he was starting to look like Blake Ferguson by the end of that. Hopefully they can straighten it up for him. 68 minutes for him, 10 runs, 94 metres, man he runs hard, 43 post contact, 4 tackle breaks, 96% tackle efficiency, 22 tackles and no errors. Just on that note, it sort of reminded me, there's one thing I did wanted to mention is the aggression and the line speed and the willingness to want to pick guys up and drive them back on the first and second tackle in the opposition's red zone makes such a big difference. We got a little bit over eager, like I mentioned earlier, with the line speed a couple of times, but that aggressive attacking defense is such a huge asset, and I think Marata is one of those guys who leads the way with Mitch Barnett and Jazz when he's on there as well. So I really enjoyed his game. At some point, I would be really curious to see him get that shot off the bench as an impact middle. I love Jackson in the middle. I love Marata and Mitch on an edge, but I'm just really curious to see how he would go in that role. But it's good to have the variety of guys who can play both edge and middle with him, Jackson, Mitch Barnett. Definitely asset for the team. It's funny, he seems like he's about 30, but I think he's actually only 28. So still got a lot of good years in him. Kurt Capewell, I thought he was solid last night off the back of Origin. 66 minutes, 8 runs, 84 metres, 33 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 88% tackle efficiency, 23 tackles made and no errors. I felt like he hit the line a little bit harder than he has done in recent times. But one bit of concern, I don't know if you guys noticed in State of Origin last week, he did seem to get up and he'd done something to his lower back. He sort of got up and he's sort of stretching and had his hand behind his lower back. And I noticed him do it a couple of times again last night. Man, having had lower back injuries over the past couple of years, I've struggled to stand up, much less play footy. So I wonder what that is, if it's just like a bit of a strain or something, but I hope it's nothing too serious because they can be a real pain in the ass and they tend to linger. But overall, even playing through that and off the back of the Origin, I thought he was really solid. I do believe if you play him, you've got to start him rather than having him as an impact player off the bench. But again, it's like you're starting with your best 13. I don't know, people who know a lot more about footy than I do making these decisions, but I would be kind of curious to see him starting there and have Marata come off the bench as an impact player at some point. Geez, I don't know. Dylan Walker starting at lock, I like it again. Quite a different role this week, playing much more of a running direct role than playing like that third half. 55 minutes, it seemed like he was out there for much longer than that. 18 runs, 174 metres, 63 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 1 offload, 86% tackle efficiency, 18 made and 1 error. Like I said, I think it was punched out rather than him necessarily dropping it. But good to see he was able to get off the ground pretty much every time. So he didn't seem to have stuffed his ankles again last night, even though he was probably needled up as always. I like it. I found that's one thing that the Panthers do a lot as well. Every ball seems to go through Yo, and in the past, still stands out to me that game against the Broncos last year in Napier. Every ball went through Tohu's hands, and it just seemed a little bit slow. Um, so I like it when you can try and get the ball into the halves' hands as quick as possible. And I also like him as a running forward. He hits so hard for his size. He's definitely not huge for a lock, but man, he just powers through the middle. Great leg drive into collision, particularly those four tackles where you're just short of halfway. You just need to get up over the halfway so you can kick from inside the opposition's half. He seems to be the perfect man for that. I feel like he's going to start on the regular going forward now. That may be an indication Tohu's either carrying something or he's just starting to really struggle with the fatigue. But yeah, great game from Dylan again. Freddie Lussick, good to see not too many people like posting that he's a useless arsehole and he's got crap pass and he's not first grade material like he's been accused of over his past couple of starts. I thought he was bloody solid. Couple of big old hits on defense. Showed a really calm head. His distribution was great and a good effort to get that try. So I feel happy for him. A lot of guys just sort of writing him off once Paul Roach came onto the scene for one game. Love Paul Roach. I think there's a lot of upside to him, but again, it's just we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, judging people on one really good performance. So it's just good to see Freddie just continue to put his head down and keep working forward. It's on that note when you're talking about hookers. It's pretty sad to see during the week that Cohen Patterson, the captain of our Harold Matts championship team, has gone off to the Bulldogs on a 3-year contract. I'm trying to understand why they would let him go because I honestly felt like that kid's got so much upside. And we've never really managed to develop a genuine top-class hooker from within. But I guess it's, what's he, 16, 17 years old. A lot of work to do ahead of him to prove himself that he's a genuine, first-grade hooker down the road. Whereas we've got Lussick, we'll start at the top, we've got Egan, you've got Lussick, you've got Paul Roach, Aoloa, Tafua, Fkofko, a couple of other, I think Egan's young brother plays hooker as well. So I guess you've just got to make a call on those kind of young fellas, and we're going to lose guys along the way because I don't know a lot of people realise this, but it's only the first graders in a select group of the Cup guys, pretty much the top 30 players, who are full-time professionals. Half of the Cup guys are only training 3 days a week. Same with Jersey Flegg and the other guys. They're all working, part-time and so forth. It's not a sport you make a living off unless you're in the top echelon. And I'm assuming the Bulldogs offered him some cash at 17 years old to go over there, some kind of guaranteed income. Tough to turn it down, I guess, because you just don't know what happens. He stays. Who knows whether he's ever going to get that chance again. So I don't hold it against him, but I'd love to kind of hear the logic from the club, even though we probably never would. But I wish him all the best. He'll be 20 years old when he comes off contract, so maybe he comes back home one day. I know he loves the Warriors, and I know his parents are long-term fans, so wish you all the best, bro. Look forward to seeing your progression. And Jazz Tavanga, 29 minutes, 8 runs, 87 metres, 33 post contact, 1 tackle break, 100% tackle efficiency, another one of the 100% club, 18 tackles made and no errors. Nothing overly outstanding from the big fella, but another consistent game. More than happy with what he's been delivering off the bench recently. Surely we'll find out within the next few weeks whether he's staying on, being extended, or whether he's moving on. Honestly, I'd love to keep him for another year. Just good to have that kind of player who doesn't drop his head. He goes back and plays cup, but comes straight back up and is always NRL ready. His energy and his efforts off the bench. I would say, within the next 12 months, we'll get a lot of these guys like Zion Ma'u and Dimitri Sifakula, Leka Halasima, Jacob Laban, ready to play bigger minutes, but it's still good to have a guy like this as backup that you could bring in. I still feel like having him here for another year will be a really useful asset, but we shall see. Jackson Ford, for just 35 minutes is a big change for him when he normally plays the 80, but probably a good chance for him to rest up the body a bit with the amount of work he does. 7 runs, 65 metres, 23 post contact, 94% tackle efficiency, 15 tackles and just 1 error. I thought he was solid enough. I guess it's weird because I didn't notice him on the field as much. Only been there 35 minutes, whatever. But when you see him when he's starting, he's just literally involved in everything. So I seem to have a bit of a quieter game, but I'm really curious to see if they invest in him as a middle long term. Probably need to beef him up a little bit, but he's quite similar size, height wise, to James Fisher Harris, and we know that he started out on an edge. Both got huge motors, so is he an edge? Is he developed as a prop? Do we keep him long term? I kind of hope the answer is yes to all of them, particularly when we are able to play Mitch Barnett and Maratania quarter on the edge, and you've also got like Capewell origin quality out there, so there's probably a bit more of a need for him in the middle. We shall see how he continues to develop. And finally, Tohu Harris, just 25 minutes. He's usually that 70 to 80 minute man. Just 2 runs for 21 minutes. I thought that really told a story. But 100% tackle efficiency for him, nailing 27 tackles. So I was wondering, is he carrying an injury? Only running twice and playing such limited minutes. It wouldn't surprise me, but still being able to get that much work done in defense shows there's still a little bit of energy in the motor. But I really wonder how things are going with him, whether he has another year left in that body. Really tough to start thinking about that with guys like him and SJ, who have been around for so long, for not just the Warriors, but for New Zealand Rugby League. And you hate sort of having these conversations because it's not my place to decide for him, or I don't know enough about the game to tell him he should retire, but just starts to, catch up on you really quickly, I think. So do we see both him and SJ out there again next year, or do they decide to pull the pin? I feel like it's something the club would need to know quite soon, because that's a lot of cap between those two. You're probably talking upwards of $1.5 million that you could look to go into the market for another big prop, or potentially an X factor wing in the short term as we're bringing these young fellas through. I don't know. Only time will tell. So to wrap all this up, like I said, I'm really stoked for the boys that they got up, defended really well, particularly 16 points. If you don't let more than 16 points in every week, you're going to be in every game. But to be fair, the Broncos didn't throw a huge amount at us. The Bulldogs will be a completely different kettle of fish. You can't hold them in their own half because you've got Burden who kicks those 70, 80-metre bombs that are contestable. They're floaters. They're a nightmare to catch. With our back threes kick defusal recently, so it's going to be a real nightmare to deal with that. But I feel like if our forwards really step up in the middle, we can more than match them. They're not the hugest pack in the world, but they're just like us, are really energetic. They never stop going. The whole team reminds me a lot of our team last year. They play well as a team, so we're going to have to probably take it up another 15% to really have a chance against the Bulldogs. I think we can do it. We do all the things we did well this week, but improve a couple of those areas, be a little bit more clinical in our decision making, and catch a few more balls. Oh well, looking forward to Teamless Tuesday. See if we've got any changes to be made. I'm not sure if any of the boys are due back from injury yet. I think they most will be back after the bye, so I think it'll be pretty much an unchanged lineup. What do you guys reckon? Is anyone you'd like to see coming in the short term? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Up the mighty New Zealand Warriors. We're back on the wagon. Just another 6 more wins and we'll be in the 8.